How important
Yes,
is it for the world or probably the stakeholders to go back to Islamabad MoU, those 14 points?
I think this is the only diplomatic way to do that. Both Turkey and Pakistan are uniquely positioned to play a constructive diplomatic roles in current economic, current and environment, current situation.
Islamabad MoU secured a ceasefire in Middle East, but since then that ceasefire has collapsed. President Trump announced a new US blockade on Iranian ports. The US carried out its third straight night of strikes. Iran hit 2 tankers. Jordan shot down Iranian missiles this morning. This is the most volatile the region has been since June's ceasefire collapsed. To discuss this, I am joined by Dr. Cemal Sangu, who is a former Turkish diplomat and most recently Consul General of Turkiye in Karachi. Thank you so much, Dr. Cemal. Can we start with your assessment of the situation in Middle East right now?
I think Middle East is currently passing through an extremely sensitive and critical period. The agreements and mutual understanding reached between Washington and Tehran under the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding initially raised hopes for the escalation, contributed to easing tensions across the region. Nevertheless, the fundamental sources of instability, including Iran's nuclear program, sanction relief, regional security arrangement, the status of Strait of Hormuz, and activities of various state and non-state actors remain largely unresolved. However, the unfortunate developments and renewed hostilities witnessed in recent days have regrettably dealt a very serious blow to those expectations and cast fresh doubt on the prospects for lasting peace and stability in the Middle East.
How serious is this situation in your estimation? Because there was attack on Sana, 4-year-old ceasefire in Yemen. That, and there are other countries involved as well now. There are attacks in Bahrain. There are talks of Oman, Jordan. Vessels of UAE are being attacked. So we're back to square one probably.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned, the recent developments, renewed hostilities witnessed just yesterday, the day before yesterday, put a cast fresh doubt on the prospects for lasting peace. So I believe the recent setbacks coming months is likely to witness a delicate combination of cautious diplomacy and ongoing strategic competition. I believe both Washington and Tehran are fully aware that a direct military confrontation would entail enormous economic, political, and humanitarian consequences, not only for two countries themselves, but for the entire region and the wider international community. At the same time, however, deep-seated mistrust and conflicting strategic interests continue to shape the calculation of both sides. From my perspective, regional stakeholders such as Gulf countries, Turkey, Pakistan have a profound interest in preventing further de-escalation that could disrupt global trade routes, energy supplies, regional economic stability. I believe these countries can play an important role in encouraging dialogue and preserving diplomatic channels at this critical juncture. The real task is to transform fragile and temporary understandings into a comprehensive, inclusive, and sustainable regional architecture.
On the mediation front, how do you see Pakistan and Turkiye's role?
I think both Turkey and Pakistan are uniquely positioned to play a constructive diplomatic roles in current economic, current and environment, current situation. Pakistan maintains, all we know, important relation with Iran, Gulf countries, China, and United States, which enables Islamabad to serve as a valuable channel for communication. At the same time, I believe that Turkey possesses also a significant diplomatic experience, institutional capacity. Ankara's strategic ties with NATO, combined with long-standing relationship with US, Iran, and regional actors, that place Turkey in a unique position to encourage dialogue and confidence building measures. From my perspective, neither Turkey nor Pakistan seeks a replace existing international mechanism. Rather, both countries can contribute by facilitating communication, reducing mistrust, misunderstandings, and encouraging regional ownership of peace initiative.
Dr. Jamal, you mentioned Islamabad MoU. How important
Yes.
is it for the world or probably the stakeholders to go back to Islamabad MoU, those 14 points, and implement them in letter and spirit? Because, as you mentioned, this has the potential of escalating into something big.
The Islamabad and of course Ankara can intervene and then open the new channel, open the communication channel between two countries and bring them and reduce the escalation, reduce the misunderstandings and the mistrust, and try to mobilize all the powers to bring them together and for an understanding and for an agreement that what they can do. I think this is the only diplomatic way to do that.
And lastly, how sustainable is the status quo for the world? Oil prices are skyrocketing again.
Yes, yeah.
The shipping lanes, they've been disturbed. There's talk of Trump implementing a 20% tariff on these shipping lanes. How sustainable is the
Yes.
status quo right now for the world?
Well, I believe that the current status quo is difficult to sustain over the long term. The global economy remains highly sensitive to developments in the Middle East because of the region's strategic location, strategic importance for energy markets, maritime routes, and also international trade. Even limited tension can lead fluctuation in oil prices, increase shipping and insurance costs, undermine investor confidence. So, from my perspective, prolonged instability also contribute to geopolitical fragmentation and diverse international attention from other pressing global challenges and issues. At the same time, I think the world has changed significantly over the past decades. New geopolitical realities, shifting alliances, and technological transformation require a more inclusive and sustainable regional security architecture, security environment. Ultimately, managing crisis is no longer sufficient. International community must invest in a long-term solutions that address nuclear concerns, economic cooperation, the free passage of maritime lines in the Strait of Hormuz, and collective security arrangements. And finally, I believe the world cannot afford an endless cycle of escalation and de-escalation in the Middle East. The lasting global stability will depend not on military deterrence alone, but on the ability of diplomacy. And I believe that diplomacy remains the only sustainable path toward a more stable and peaceful Middle East.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jamal.
My pleasure. Thank you.